So has the US Mint stopped production on gold and silver bullion for 2022? I know people have said that they have. Does that count for anything? Okay, so we're going to take a look at the US Mint's production figures for their gold and for their silver bullion programs. And we're going to address the rumor that production has stopped. Now, I'm not even sure that rumor is the right word here because people are using that story to make insinuations that they're probably never going to come back to resolve. They're just going to leave this story out there as if it's true. That's what happened last year at least. That's what happened the year before that. Now, one thing that never seems to fail us on YouTube is the constant flow of certainty. It's in the videos, it's in the comments. We all do it. It's just that some people do it more than others. Now, I saw a comment here from a person recently stating that silver is more rare than gold and it should have the higher value of the two. And he seemed to believe it. And I think that that's a good example of how this works. It's really hard to be open to an idea that goes against what you already believe to be true. I think Epictetus said it better. It's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Now, that's pretty wise coming from a guy who began life as a Roman slave like 2,000 years ago. Now, we could run down a few of these ideas that get thrown around as fact, but I'm just going to focus on one here today. People have been saying and writing that the US Mint has halted production on 2022 bullion coins. I've seen people mention gold eagles, buffaloes, and silver eagles specifically. But there has been no mention of this from the US Mint and no mention from anyone in any kind of position of particular insight. But we'll come back to that. And the implication here of that supposed production halt seems to be that either the premiums will shoot up for those coins or there might be some kind of numismatic value on the remaining 2022 coins because we can no longer get them. So let's start with the numismatic value. We're talking about the most heavily minted bullion coins in the world. The American Silver Eagle is the world's most popular bullion coin by annual sales. It beats everything out there. The American Gold Eagle, that's the world's most popular gold bullion coin by new annual sales figures. And if you took out the new part there, it would be the South African Krugerrand, but either way, we're dealing with a couple of coins that are the opposite of rare. So far this year, the US Mint has sold 12 million American Silver Eagles and 830,000 ounces of American Gold Eagles. Now, if the US Mint stopped minting Eagles for the remainder of the year or started minting 2023 coins instead, these coins, the 2022 coins, would still not be rare. Now this coin over here, this is rare. This is a 2022 high relief Year of the Tiger 1 ounce gold proof coin from the Perth Mint. And it has a mintage of 188. That's rare. 830,000 2022 American Gold Eagles or 12 million 2022 American Silver Eagles, not rare. That idea that you're going to get some kind of additional numismatic value from a certain year of an American Silver Eagle or an American Gold Eagle, well, that's a stretch. I'm not really sure where that comes from. So let me flash the sales figures coming directly from the US Mint's website for a minute. The first thing that you're going to notice here is that there are sales figures for the first week of August already. Now that's after people have said that the Mint had already stopped production. And I guess that alone doesn't mean that they have not stopped. They might have had some warehoused, but we've heard people say that the Mint stopped production in both 2021 and 2020 as well. It wasn't true either time. I think it's safe to assume that the Mint has been scrambling a bit over the past few years just to keep up with demand. If we flip to overall numbers for the last 4 years, we can see that sales jumped significantly from 2019 to 2020. That shouldn't be any big surprise, but when you look at the numbers, you see just how much. Gold Eagles jumped up 5.5 times year over year from 2019 to 2020, and by the time 2021 rolled around, the Mint's Gold Eagle program had increased in production more than 8 times. Now, silver is less of a story, but it doubled, and that's definitely not something to ignore. Now, we can see these 2022 figures so far. Again, these are through the first week of August, and we can see that they've been producing coins across all their programs at a pretty crazy clip. Now, really, the only thing that stands out here is that Silver Eagle production has gone down compared to the past 2 years, but with their current premiums hanging out somewhere around 75% these days, that shouldn't really be a surprise. Now, you might think that the premiums are high because the production is low. Unless you looked at the prior years, premiums on American Silver Eagles have been crazy since 2020, and that has nothing to do with lower production. Now, if the mint could produce 8.3 times more silver eagles than they did in 2019, that's the multiple for gold eagles, well, I'm sure that we'd see those premiums come down. So there's definitely something going on. Either the mint truly is having an issue getting a hold of silver planchets, or maybe they just have a focus instead on moving gold to market. Now, there's definitely an obvious delta between supply and demand with silver eagles, but there still is no evidence that the mint has stopped production. But there have been a few videos on the topic saying just that. Now, if we drop down a few layers, I saw a video where a person was interviewing an online dealer who is not a direct supplier for the mint, and he said that he had heard from somebody who said that someone else said that the mint couldn't meet demand. And that's a few layers of he said, she said. Now, I asked a few people that would be equally close to the source, and they hadn't heard anything. So where do these stories come from? Who would want us to believe that gold and silver eagles will be hard to find, worth more, or both? Now, the story comes from people making videos. You can search YouTube, you can find some recent ones. You can also find the ones from last year showing US Mint production figures and them making the guesses that didn't actually play out. And it comes from comments, from people who heard that it was true and believed it. But it probably started from a dealer. And to anyone making the video following up on that, maybe it sounded likely, maybe it sounded interesting, but somebody made that video, that initial video, and I think it just probably fanned out. Now, if I really had to have gold today, the day before we get new inflation data, by the way, I could just as easily pick up a Canadian Maple Leaf or a Britannia at much lower premiums, or I could tell myself to wait a little bit. I think the catalyst that spiked premiums is a lot simpler than the mint halting production or the story of that happening. Dealers had purchased gold and silver at higher spot price, and then they saw several months of declining prices. We went from all-time highs in March to a 15% loss by July, just a few months later. So they were moving bullion for less than they had paid, and that increases premiums. But now that the price is reversed and the prices are at or higher than those prices from several weeks ago when they were probably buying, well, they're looking to move them now at the higher spot. And then on top of that, they're still rolling through these higher premiums. So now is a pretty good time to be selling. That is not meant as a jab at online dealers. They are still offering other products at lower premiums. It's more about bad information and being skeptical about stories, even if they line up with what you already consider likely. So let's call it good there. Let us know in the comments if you're still buying gold and silver eagles, even with that higher premium, or if you have any kind of inside knowledge on what's happening in the mint. Love to hear about that too. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit the like button if you found any of this interesting. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.